Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Mosier. I am the team lead for the Solution Accelerator team. I want to talk to you today about a use case that I think will hit home for a lot of people, and that's involving with testing. Testing is something that all organizations have to walk through and use whenever you're updating an application, trying something for the first time, and more. Now, testing requires realistic data sets to be effective. You've got to replicate that real-world data, and at times it can be hard to find that specific data. Now, if you're going to manually create test data to be able to go through all of the various scenarios, sometimes you can come up with wrong data types for input. You can miss certain fields. You're also probably focusing just on the happy path. You're not thinking of these edge cases, of these exceptions. And of course, it's also just not exactly the most scalable thing in the world either if you're having to manually go through and create this data for testing. Something else to consider, instead of having to create all this test data, is to take production data and just anonymize that, masking it, substituting with other data. Now, if you're doing this, you could potentially miss fields that have PII. You don't want to put that through your lower level environments and accidentally have data leakage in that sense. Also, when you're manually doing things, whether it's manually creating this test data or manually going through and anonymizing things, that's a lot of human effort involved as well. So the end state here that we really want to go through and do is use that pre-existing production data and anonymize it without having to do that manually. We want to make sure that we're really just anonymizing only that PII so that the realistic data set is still there for effective testing, so that we're not just focused on the happy path and we're hitting all these edge cases as well. We also want to make sure that when we go through and anonymize this data, we do have that human validation just to make sure that things are being anonymized correctly, that we are detecting the PI, and we are working through test data that will work in our scenarios. Now, what we also kind of want to do is perhaps at the end, maybe go through a full automated testing suite so that we don't have to touch anything, that we can ingest this right away and get testing and have the results come through in that manner. So I'm going to go ahead and demo for you today, taking that production data and anonymizing it through our PII filtering activity. Scott, if I could take over the screen share. Let's say that today I'm going to be a test manager and I'm managing a loan application app. This app, if I go ahead and I'm going to actually just go and browse for some test data here. Now, this app involves entering various users' information. Now, I'm going to have to enter their name, their email, the loan amount that they're requesting, all these terms, maybe their social security number, credit card information. Now, this is PII coming straight from our production data. Obviously, I don't want to have to go and enter this information within our lower level environment. Something else as well, I'm going to open up the spreadsheet again while our PI detection tool is running. Something else as well is I'm just a tester. I don't necessarily know what exactly is PII. Is that loan amount PII? I'm a little uncertain of that. Are the loan granted? Is that PII? I don't know. So I'm not sure if I'm able to go ahead and just substitute this into our lower level environment right away. And our PII filtering activity is going to go ahead and when it runs through all this data, it's going to be able to tell me, hey, this information is PII or it's not. You can see here after it's finished running, we have more knowledge now into what needs to be substituted to put into our low level environment. If I hover over, it tells me what this information was. You can see here that this information was person, identified as person data, email data, social security, and credit card. So it accurately identified the information without me having to tell it what that was. On top of that, we can see that these loan amounts and information, they're not necessarily PII. I don't have to go ahead and substitute this. You can see by default now, there's no technique underneath the information that doesn't need to be substituted. So we're going to go ahead and hit all those test cases within our lower level environment. Our other PII detected fields, they're going to be substituted. So let's go ahead and execute that. And when we execute that, we can see that our data is now going to be generated within our output here. So let's go take a look at that file. And we can see that we now have our loans quote anonymized data. And you can see now our substituted data compared to our original data. We have different information in that is not going to be filled with PII. So this now can be entered into our low-level environment pretty easily. And that's all using our PII filtering activity.